is the Hollywood Chronicles with Frank McKay. Tune in each week for exclusive interviews with your favorite celebrities.
Frank McKay here with a legend, an indisputable legend. Pat Boone is our very special guest, and let me just tell you, he's kicking off his 70th anniversary in show business with Grits. It's a major country vinyl project, and it'll be coming out in a short period of time. But what a legend! What an honor it always is to have the great Pat Boone. Pat, how are you?
What you say, it's Frank McKay. I'm doing great. And it's grits, plural, you know.
Yeah.
There's so many little tiny bits of grit. But now grit, of course, that's a whole different thing. But grits, shrimp and grits is sweeping the nation in fancy restaurants and hotels. Everywhere I go, I see on the menu now shrimp and grits. But, of course, it's been the southern staple for so long, for countless years. And you know, Frank, people will find it hard to believe, but I dreamed that song. I wrote it myself. I've written a lot of my own songs, but this one, it came to me in a dream, and I was celebrating having a big country hit, and I could hear myself singing the lyric. But what happens in dreams sometimes is you're dreaming it, you're loving it, and all of a sudden the thought creeps in, I think this may be a dream. And if that happens, then all of a sudden you start waking up, and then you have trouble holding on to what you were dreaming.
Yeah.
But I came out of that dream with grits, bestest food there is, country caviar, Tennessee foie gras, grits, bestest food there is, keep your fancy mood, give me my grits. And we make fun of escargot, them snails have got to go. and pate, what is that anyway? And the Gatlin brothers joined me in the record, and they're saying, skip that smelly cheese. What is that? You can scrap that, please. and what did I say? What is the one that rhymes with zoo? I forget what that is.
Food?
I think. I'm trying to think of what that food is, and I say, do you eat at the zoo? and so I'm making fun of all those fancy things, but the record is hitting. I mean, we're right now. You know, the record situation is so crazy now, but you have to go to Spotify, you have to go to all these social media outlets and so on. But we're last I checked, number 5 in downloads, and number 10 in unless I've got them back, was number 10 in streams.
Yeah.
And really doing great. And the record is not even available in a store somewhere, but we're working on that because we think it's going to be a major country hit, because all country people eat grits. In fact, Dean Miller, the son of Roger Miller, who wrote Dang Me and King of the Road and all those great songs, he's on this album with me, and he says, you know, I can hear my dad writing this song, Grits.
Yeah, it's a great song. I've been listening to it. It's stuck in my head. I could have probably sang it for you.
Good.
But it is, look, it's just amazing to me that you come out with grits, and you're right. It's either, and I saw the statistic somewhere else. Somebody sent it to me that's not even related to this interview or related to you, and they were just talking about it and how amazing this is. You were a contemporary of Elvis Presley. In fact, my mother, and I told you off air, and I've told you before, my mother idolized you. She wasn't an Elvis fan. She was a Pat Boone fan, and there were two different camps.
My kind of woman. you know, I this sounds silly or wrong even, but I always felt I had the highest quality fans. By that I mean, they were the ones that did well in school.
She did.
They had a modicum of taste already, like the girls, and the guys were regular guys, and it, of course, most of my fans, as I thought at the time, were female. because I was a teen idol. But the boys, I've heard these latter days from so many men who tell me now that they were fans of mine when they were growing up as guys. I mean, of course, they either had to like me or Elvis or both, and that's what did happen. Was that many of the same people were fans of both Elvis and mine. We matched each other record for record in the 50s. I had 41 chart records in the 50s. He had 40, but I had a 6-month head start on him, and I had 3 million sellers before his first Heartbreak Hotel happened. And because his first record on Sun, Blue Moon of Kentucky, was not a hit, except regionally, because he was on the Louisiana Hayride radio show and becoming popular. But, you know, that song, Blue Moon of Kentucky, was a bluegrass country song, and it was not what was happening in rhythm and blues. But, of course, he caught up with that real quick. But I matched him record for record through the 50s, and that means that guys were liking my music as well as the girls. So I've always been so proud of that whole era in my life.
Yeah, well, I mean, you should, but I mean, the longevity is unbelievable. I think the way you've run your life too has just been, you know, you're somebody people could admire. You know, grandparents, grandchildren, sons, daughters. I mean, you know, you've done nothing to shame your position ever. I mean, I think you've just done a great job, and kudos to you on that. And I think my listeners and everybody, whether they're fans of your music or not, they would have to agree with that.
You know, I got some of that same kind of comment from some of my fellow performers who have told me, entertainers, that you said, I used to make fun of you because you seem so square. And so I eventually, knowing that, wrote a song, Are There Any More Squares Up There? Folks that believe in the golden rule, help me prove I'm not a doggone fool. Are there any more squares out there? And I was singing in my shows. But many entertainers, including Dean Martin and Johnny Carson and Phil Harris, and a lot of entertainers had told me that I was good joke material for them, but that they had come to really respect me because I stayed with my wife for, 67 years now. We're still married. She's in heaven waiting for me now, but there's never going to be another one.
Yeah.
And my daughters and family and you know, church-going people and Bible-believing people. And I'm in the Gospel Music Hall of Fame, though I'm not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Probably never will be, because I didn't just stick to rock and roll. I had many hits that were rock and roll hits, more than some that are in there. But I was also recording at the same time big band jazz, swing, you know, huge big band music, and gospel songs and country songs. I recorded more country songs than some country artists. My album, in which Grits is part, although it hasn't become a million seller yet, but 25 of the other songs in the album were all million-selling country hits that I sang during my career in albums. And in some cases, I had my own pop versions of the country songs, like Everybody's Going to Have Religion and Glory. And that's called Wonderful Time Up There.
Yeah.
And it was a big gospel all-night singing kind of thing, and it became a #1 hit in the rock and roll era. So I was just so eclectic that people, my wife Shirley said, Pat, people don't know who you are. Are you a country artist? Are you rock and roll? Are you gospel? Are you patriotic? Are you jazz? I said, yes, I'm all those things. Well, and, you know, if I'd stayed with one thing like Johnny Mathis did, just sing beautiful songs, or Tony Bennett, probably I would have continued on the charts longer. But I was too eclectic. I loved it all, and I did a lot of it all. But then I would pop up on the charts from time to time with something that people had not expected from me at all. So as a result, now I've recorded over 2,300 songs, separate songs.
Wow.
Like 300 more than Bing Crosby. And I recorded 3 songs this last year with Crystal Gale, a remake of her Just You and I. It was a Grammy winner with Eddie Rabbitt, but he's been gone 20 years. So we redid that song together, Crystal Hill and I. And now I've got this song, Grits, that we think is going to be a country hit. It is becoming a country hit, and the album may become a hit country album.
Well, listen, we're going to talk about it for a long time right now after we let you go. I know a lot of people are waiting to talk to you. Pat Boone, it's always an honor, and we'll be talking about Grits as we let you go. Thank you very much for being here.
Okay, happy Grits, everybody.
Congrats. Grits is the name of the song, his guest album, and you know, it's just it's always great to talk to him. I wish I had him for a longer period of time. Guest artist on this is Ray Stevens, the Gatlin brothers, Lori Morgan, Deborah Allen, Dean Miller, and again the great Pat Boone. Wherever you are politically, forget it. It doesn't matter. You got to admire this man for what he's done. Yeah, and he gets the reason he's not going to get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame because he had rock and roll hits, and you know, he had more rock and roll hits than a lot of the people that are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, right? But he's not considered a rock and roller, and the people over at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is not going to put anyone. And I'm not making a political statement here. They're not going to put anyone that's this religious in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They're just not going to. He's very he wears his Christianity on his sleeve, and he's proud of it, and so does his daughter. His daughter Debbie Boone has been on, you know, this show several times, and I think we had her on Christmas. Last time I spoke to her was at Christmas, and she had the huge hit, "You Light Up My Life." And you know, a lot of people, I remember in one of these docu-series on VH1, I think it was Remembering the 70s, and one of the female comedians said it was she loved the song until she found out that the he that she was talking about, "You Light Up My Life," was Jesus, and not just a guy. And she said, "Oh, and that just creeped me out." You know, a love song to Jesus. But listen, kudos to the Boones for sticking with their beliefs. I mean, they're unapologetic about their beliefs, and they should be. And you know, listen, I'm a Christian, but I'm not born again, or I'm not I don't wear it on my sleeve for sure. I have complete tolerance for people, you know, in all other religions, as long as they're not preaching hate or hate to another religion or anything along those lines. And you know, certainly there are people way extreme right that are just they're anti whoever's not with them, and then there's people way to the left, or atheists, let's say, that are just prejudiced against the right. And both of them, forget it. I'm a moderate. I'm an independent. And when you come down to a guy like Pat Boone, you get a guy like Pat Boone on the show. There's a million questions I'd like to ask him. By the way, I don't know how old he is. I'm going to just kind of search it as I'm talking here. But 70 years in entertainment. Just think about it. And he's made a fortune for himself. He's again, done what he's wanted to do. He's Gospel Music Hall of Fame, like you said, but pop music. I mean, he was going punch for punch with Elvis Presley. I wanted to ask him more about Elvis Presley, and I'm a big fan of also Elvis Presley, but I wanted to talk to him and see what their relationship was like. Elvis was a Christian too, right? His mother was very, very religious, and I've had his stepbrother on, this is Billy, his brother Billy, on a couple of times, and he talks about the religious aspect of Elvis, and I'm sure a lot of people kind of tune out when they do that, but it's interesting to hear another aspect of Elvis. But I wanted to hear, like, were they adversarial, were they I'm sure he would say, I don't hear Pat Boone, like ripping people and contemporaries, and he's opinionated, but he wasn't here. I mean, he's look. Let me see when he was born, Pat Boone. Just as I'm looking from 55 to 59, Boone had 51 hit records, and I'm just grabbed this from somewhere on the pop charts to Elvis's 40. So in that time period, they just they actually admired each other's music and developed a lasting friendship, according to this one site. And let me see, Pat Boone was born in 34. Wow, he's almost 90 years old, right? So the thing is, look, you hear him, he's cogent, beyond cogent, and I love getting people like him on. Paul Anka we've had on, but like the older folks, and I'm saying this with the greatest respect, just the greatest respect, they're not making any more of them. And it's a different generation, it's a different world. And when I get an opportunity to talk to, when anybody says to me, hey, you want to talk to Pat Boone? And I absolutely always. I don't know how many times we had him, a couple of times, or Paul Anka, but anybody like that. Barbara Eden, right? I mean, anybody that has been at it this long, I love it. And by the way, I haven't booked anything in so long. I haven't hunted for guests for a long time because different publicists and different friends of friends call and I'm booked up. I have shows and I pre-record many interviews and I have so many that I just haven't been going out looking for them. I don't know, maybe 4 years now, but I used to hunt them down and try to get them through email or some kind of social, which is a tough way to do it. And I ended up with a lot of older folks from pop culture, iconic shows, the TV shows. And my colleague here, Tom Scalero, great guy, great show host. He always says, if you listen to Frank, you'll get a taste of, the old timers or whatever. It's if anybody who listens regularly, you realize that, most of the people that I'm getting have modern shows and very hot shows now, and less people from pop culture. I love to get them, and the reason I'm getting less and less of them is because they're getting older, right? And they're passing on. I just say it blatantly. It's just part of the life cycle, and that's why it's important to me to get some of these veteran actors, actresses, musicians. I had Dionne Warwick the other day, and hopefully she lives another 100 years, 20 years, 30, whatever. But she's when somebody asked me about Dionne Warwick, I said absolutely, we'll absolutely take her. And it's so important for me to get these veterans, and the young people too. I mean, I don't pass on anyone unless they're just completely irrelevant to what I'm doing. But anybody that's in the celebrity realm that call, and a lot of them, you can tell. I mean, we got celebrities every single day. The 3, 4, 1. Sometimes we have a full show on them, but Pat Boone, I'd love to have an hour with and just go through it. And usually once I get like an hour-long show with somebody like this, I don't bother them for a second one. Like Ed Asner, I've got several with him just because, he had called or friends of friends had called before he passed, and now I'm grateful that I have them. Another guy who's not as known as that, but Tony Dow passed away not long ago, and he was the older brother on Leave It to Beaver, and I did an hour with him. he was talking about his artwork mostly, but that was an iconic show for so many people. Not my, favorite show, whatever, but it was for so many people. And I watched it as a kid, and a lot of people did. And by the way, millions upon millions upon millions of people watched it because there's 3 networks back then, right? It was ABC, CBS, and NBC. It wasn't a million shows like there are now. There was only a few shows because there were only a few channels. Anyway, Pat Boone, thrilled to have had him again, and we'll be talking to Debbie soon, and hopefully Pat again soon. But the reason for the call here, the conversation here, is Grits. Check out his record. It's Pat Boone, and it's in the country mode, and whether you like country or not, whether you like Pat Boone or not, check it out. It's not going to cost you anything to check it out. Check it out with Pat and download it. And, anybody who's, spent 70 years, he's on his 70th anniversary in show business, has something going for him. Pat Boone is just, a whole different category. Kudos to him. He's a legend. Thrilled to have him. Frank McKay signing off. Pat Boone has been our very special guest. We'll see you all next time.
You've been listening to the Hollywood Chronicles with Frank McKay. Tune in next week for more celebrity interviews with your favorite Hollywood stars.